as I was saying, I like how you basically get closer and get a better view of the Death Egg stuck inside of Lava Reef as you head deeper into the stage. Again, it's very subtle, but it's a nice way to kind of show the progression of the story, without, like, spoken dialogue also, being able to, like, convey what's happening in the story, in, like, a, 16-bit game. It's really impressive, actually. I am taking a huge risk here. I want some rings to turn into hypersonic. Luckily, we got all 3 Sonics there, so we have enough now. Now it's just a matter of actually holding on to the rings, which might be easier said than done. We do have some platforms here with like a lightning shield and a flame shield. Actually, the flame shield should be enough. We might not even need hypersonic. Best case scenario, we'll be able to get through this no problem. Worst case scenario, we do have enough rings to go hyper in case of an emergency. But we should have our next boss here, the one we saw in the distance. This boss is dumb. Basically, we have to wait until the spikes destroy the mech. Also, I feel like this lava background is like really hard to look at after a while. There are a couple of graphical effects like this, and also Hypersonic's screen flash, that I'm actually surprised they didn't tone down at all in Origins. Like, for a lot of like Virtual Console releases, they toned down a lot of like flashing lights, but in this game, for the sake of authenticity, unfortunately, they kept a lot of this intact, and I'm a little bit torn. So yeah, this is definitely something I would have changed a little bit, make it a little bit less hard to look at. And yeah, the screen flash, I almost feel like should have been like a duller color, so it wouldn't be as like blinding every time you perform the jump attack as hypersonic. Also, the hypersonic drop dash also will cause the screen to shake, similar to the supersonic drop dash. This boss takes forever because you can't directly attack it. This is probably like my least favorite classic Sonic fight of like, in terms of like the original games, just because this takes forever to get through. So, this is Hidden Palace Zone. Remember that glitch I talked about where if you actually like restart the stage when entering the giant ring? Because the emeralds are at Hidden Palace, this is where you would end up, actually. They did patch it, but yeah, you could actually skip most of the game, like for speedrunning purposes, by like restarting when entering that first giant ring in Mushroom Hill. Yeah, they did fix that, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you ask. There's also another glitch where if you actually I'll wait and talk about this in a moment. Also, you want to jump past this teleporter because there's a ring box right behind it. From here, I'm extremely curious to see if there's anything back here. I know the intended route is right, but I just want to make sure there's nothing over here first. I'm pretty sure this is actually Knuckles' path through Hidden Palace, actually. That's what this is here for. But yeah, you can still see the Death Egg up there, as we're at the top of the volcano, basically. And with a backdrop of a mural of a very interesting scene, we are now fighting Knuckles directly. If you manage to collect enough rings via the bonus minigame with the checkpoint, you actually can soft lock this fight if you fight this with Hypersonic. I've actually seen it happen where the fight will not end if you defeat Knuckles as Hypersonic. It'll soft lock. Overall, this fight isn't that difficult. and we've arrived at Sky Sanctuary. So, it turns out that basically Knuckles was a distraction for Robotnik to steal the Master Emerald. And now the Death Egg is fully operational, so we have to make our way over there and stop it. Also, a bunch of Egg Robos are now attacking Sky Sanctuary. After the recent Sonic Frontiers animation, I almost feel like I have a different appreciation for Sky Sanctuary than I did before. But again, this is actually being recorded literally the week before Sonic Frontiers comes out, so I am looking forward to it. My comments on the game might age very poorly, depending on how the game turns out. Also, you can actually fight this boss, like Sonic 1 style. In the mobile version of Sonic 1, you weren't able to damage the boss until the Wrecking Ball, is fully, drops down. But in this fight, you actually can attack the boss immediately as they show up. This is Mecha Sonic, by the way, who will basically use different past Robotnik inventions. Alright, so let's keep moving through here. But yeah, structurally this game is a little bit different than other Sonic games. It's almost more like Sonic 2, where you have a couple of one-off areas. Hidden Palace is a very short story zone, essentially. And again, it is actually cool to me to see how story is implemented somewhat implicitly through the sort of cutscenes that you have in a Genesis game like this. So yeah, basically after the Emerald got stolen, Knuckles decides to help us, clearing the path to the teleporter to Sky Sanctuary, and then made the bridge appear for us. Next up is the Metropolis Zone fight. Interesting choice to bring back out of every zone, or every boss in Sonic 2. Yeah, very interesting choice of a fight here, but not too difficult to get past. Moving on to the third level, we also have these little crumbling, floating pillars that are very difficult are kind of narrow and difficult to jump across. So we have to be a little bit careful not to fall all the way back down to where we started, which I have done in the past, so I am trying to be a little bit careful. We can also bounce on these clouds. I broke that, so we have to now use Tails to fly up here. And we also have these spinning disc platforms. By the way, there are actually cases in Carnival Night where certain animations, like Sonic spinning on the barrels, didn't have separate sprites for Supersonic compared to regular Sonic, and they actually did make Supersonic sprites for the barrel in Carnival Night. I forgot to mention it because I was talking about the music, and that's generally what happens with this game. When this game first released, there was a lot of discussion to that effect of this animation for Supersonic on this barrel is really cool, but it's being overshadowed by the music. Alright, so we're on an even higher level of Sky Sanctuary. I guess we have to go through here, to the top of this structure. We have 38 rings, so that's not enough. That's not as many as I would have liked to have had for this, but we'll get through this, hopefully, without too much trouble. I could play the bonus game, but oh well. We now have to fight Mecha Sonic. My best advice would be, remember the insta-shield. I say as I immediately jump straight into spikes. Yeah, with the insta-shield, it's not too bad. I'm not entirely sure how Tails would fare in this fight, to be honest. And that's also part of the reason why I was I kind of wish I had Hypersonic for this, just to speed it up. But overall, this isn't too bad. I think Knuckles has a tougher fight, because Mecha Sonic, I'm pretty sure, is his final boss, actually. Well, that's bad. Now we have to be a little bit more careful because we have no rings. I hope we don't have too many attacks left. Barely dodged that. Yeah, that could have gone better. if there's one issue I actually have with like literally every Sonic game, is your health. Like the idea of the collectibles being your source of health is actually really clever, but the problem is luck. Like if the rings happen to bounce in such a way that you literally can't collect them again, you're just kind of out of luck, basically. That's why I'm a little bit torn sometimes about the health system in Sonic. Being able to actually pick up the rings every time would be nice, but there are definitely cases where it's basically impossible to pick the rings back up, meaning you have to do a lot of the fights at 0 health. And here we are, the final main zone. Sort of. Death Egg is actually kind of like a zone I kind of go back and forth on. Sometimes I'm like, this zone is cool, and other times I'm like, this is infuriating. So let's see how this goes, because I tend to have very extreme reactions to this. Specific set pieces tend to give me a lot of trouble, so if I get through them really easily, then I tend to have a better time with the overall zone as a whole. But like these conveyor belts with missile launchers are not my favorite thing. Trying to get through that with 0 rings is not my favorite thing in the world. We also have a lightning shield, so that protects us from that. We also have these little tunnels here that kind of send us up and down. We can still move around left and right, but our vertical movement is basically locked off. Again, if you have the lightning shield, this isn't that bad. But most of my, like, struggle with this particular area is the times when I don't have the lightning shield, and then it's kind of like a lot of, trial and error trying to figure out how to get through this in one piece. Again, I need to remember to use the insta-shield more. I almost feel like I don't have muscle memory for it for some reason. And I'm trying to think of why. It's probably because, like, most of the games I play don't have it. Like, Mania just has the drop dash. Sonic 2 doesn't have either in most adaptations. So I do feel like I'm just not used to having the insta-shield to the point where I just don't use it. Because, you know, 3 out of 4 of the games on this collection don't have it. It is also kind of weird to me how, like, Sonic 3 is classified, because it is technically one game, but also technically standalone, and again, I tend to mentally think of Sonic 3 as, like, standalone from Sonic and Knuckles, even though they really are the same game. But like, even atmospherically, I feel like the games are very distinct. Like, the music in Sonic 3, to me, has a very different style to it than the music in Sonic and Knuckles. Like, both are good. Like, I really like Sonic and Knuckles soundtrack, but it definitely has a distinct, like, style to it that makes it stand apart from Sonic 3. And, like, I don't even know how to, like, sum up why I feel like these games sound so different, but yeah, to me there is a very distinct style. Maybe there are, like, orange sparkles and then, like, red sparkles are the ones I'm looking for. And yeah, maybe I've completely gotten it wrong this entire time. I was thinking they might be, like, blue or something, but I haven't seen anything to indicate that. So yeah, I think I actually should look out for red specifically and not, like, orange. But yeah, those are very similar. You have to light up all those, like, buttons, by the way. I got through that way easier than I usually do. Again, this is one of those things where, this is one of those things that's, like, either really frustrating or I get it immediately. No problem. And that was a no problem, time. So that was actually very nice. We also have these little automated sections here, these little, like, light, tunnels that will carry us forward. Also, this song is pretty good too. I don't know if it really screams final area though. It's kind of like surprisingly like peppy for like a final zone. Doesn't have like a lot of gravitas to it, so it's kind of an interesting choice. We have a slightly annoying boss here, and we're going to use Hypersonic just to speed this up. We have to dodge all the projectiles and then attack the eye on this little robot here. And of course, it's not over yet. There's a second phase where the eye is now firing lasers and has little spinny platforms that you're supposed to use to attack it. But we're hypersonic, we don't need the platforms. We're fine.